Hey everyone, Lukas Schwekendiek here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about resistance. Specifically, this topic came through in terms of relationships, and I've talked about this topic a lot with clients before in various different scenarios. So I'm gonna try to create something here for you guys that maybe explains this a little bit. And we're gonna start off with the core idea of one of Bruce Lee's quotes, and that's "Be like water, my friend." Now, I'm going to butcher the quote here, but essentially, what he says is that water can adapt to any container. If you put it in a glass, it becomes the glass. If you put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot, and so on and so forth. It can crash or it can let stuff through. And when you're resisting stuff, it is a very similar thing. We're going to take the idea of water, but not water in terms of changing form, but water in its different states. So steam, water, and ice. What happens in relationships and also with yourself, we'll get to that here in a second, but what happens in relationships when someone, for example, attacks you verbally, so they insult you? You can choose to be one of those three states. We're going to focus mainly on water and ice because steam is a little bit too esoteric for most people. So we're going to focus on those two. When someone insults you, say they call you a jerk or an asshat or something like that, what happens is we often resist that. We become ice. We say, no, that's not me, and then we adopt a defensive state. What generally happens in such moments is that the other person feels right in their aggressor stance and becomes even more aggressive. They then start yelling other insults, and it becomes more of a fight of who the aggressor is versus who's on the defending side. And the one usually more either physically superior or verbally superior will then eventually take on the role of the aggressor, and it can end up in a fight, at least a verbal one. That's what happens a lot, whether it be with a partner, an ex-friend, or someone we just don't like. When someone attacks us and resists that, it then bounces off one another and escalates very quickly. To kind of solve that, we have to just allow ourselves to go with that flow as well. And the core idea of this topic today is owning it, or non-resistance. So when someone insults you, saying you're a jerk, the best way to respond to that is to say, "Yep, you're right. I am. Been there. I know." Something of that regard. And that sounds very odd to most people because we don't really consider ourselves jerks or whatever the insult is. Even if it's an insult to our mother or a father or someone else, if we just accept that and say, yes, you're right, those three words, it becomes, it takes out all the wind. It takes out all the emphasis. Because we don't resist that, whatever they throw at us, kind of like going through water, just falls through and sinks to the bottom, and we're unaffected by it. If we're of a rigid like ice, the thing flies towards us, it breaks off part of the ice, we might shatter, the thing that gets thrown at us might get shattered, and it's just going to become a mess afterwards. So if you can adopt that idea of non-resisting it and just saying, yeah, you're right, I am a jerk sometimes, or yep, I've not been nice, or yep, my mother does sleep with a lot of men for whatever you know. It's just words. It doesn't mean anything. We only give it value by resisting it, by fighting it, by saying no to it. We give the other person essentially something to hurt us with. But if we're not hurt, then nothing happens with that. Now, this also happens when we're talking with ourselves. If we say, for instance, let's say you want to watch some Netflix, even though you still have a bit of work to do. And you decide, no, I don't want to do that work. Or no, I don't need to. You're also resisting that. Or rather, no, I shouldn't watch Netflix. You're resisting that. You're building up a barrier again, which then makes you go into a conversation with yourself, saying, yeah, but I really do, but it's not good, and it hurts again. If we're instead just being honest with ourselves and saying, yep, I do want to watch. When you don't resist that idea, it becomes a lot less powerful. It's a lot less on your mind, and then you can still make a choice thereafter. Remember, with thoughts, in general, they don't require action. We think they do. We want to do something with them, but they don't require anything. We can do whatever we want. We don't have to act on it. If we're saying, yes, we want to watch Netflix, that doesn't mean we have to go right now. We can just, go to a computer or read a book or go outside or spend some time with friends or whatever, even though we want this other thing. That's what makes us a little bit human, because we're some of the few people, or some of the few animals who can do that, if not the only ones. We can want something and then still choose something different. We have that power of choice. And that can be used against you or for you. But the core is that you will never choose these things if you keep resisting it. Same way when you're in a conversation with others, when you're resisting the work, resisting the insult, resisting life in general. That's when the problems arise. When you become non-resistant, when you just go with the flow, when you become like water, when you just accept it and say yes and, it takes out a lot of this difficulty of it. Yes, I am scared about my future, and that's okay. Yes, this person has insulted me, and whatever. Yes, I am sometimes a jerk, and that's also okay. Yes, yes, I would like to watch Netflix right now, and I might later. Just saying yes to it initially makes you a lot less susceptible to whatever usually happens. That takes a little bit of practice, but the core idea is that it's not the end of the world. So what non-resistance really is you're not taking things so seriously that you have to resist it. When we take things very seriously, that's likely when we resist things. For example, an insult to our mother will be resisted if we give that value, or if we try to prove ourselves, or if we try to be stronger. But if we realize that it's just random words by a person who has never met our mother before, then it doesn't matter. Let them say what they want. It's irrelevant. It's just words being spoken by a person who has no idea. And you'll find this a lot with comedians, specifically stand-up comedians, who will not resist the, I forget the term, but the words flung by the audience randomly. The hecklers, that's the one. When they don't resist the hecklers, they just say yes and then they transform it into another insult or into another witty remark. They're well spoken, unlike some of us, including myself, but when that happens, the core idea is that they don't resist it. They just go with it. They say yes. And this is also a trick used in improvisational theater, where in improvisational theater, you're to keep something going and not to let it stagnate at one point in the scene, you say yes and to whatever the other actor on stage comes up with. So if they say, we're going to Las Vegas, you say yes and let's go to the casino specifically, and then the other person says yes and let's play the dice, and that keeps the scene rolling. It makes more things happen, and that's how life works, at least a little bit as well. When we say yes to what happens, when we say yes to our feelings, when we say yes to the things that would usually spark resistance, we keep going instead of being stuck at whatever point we're resisting. A lot of people don't actually change their lives or make a move because they resist that move. I hate my job, but I need to do it, but I don't want to, but it's good for my family, but this, and they just stay stuck on it. They resist that hate because they shouldn't, and it's a job, and they should feel better, instead of just saying, yeah, I hate it. And now what? What am I going to do about it? That's when the magic happens. Once you accept it. Once you stop resisting it. Yes, I do love that person. What are you going to do about it? Yes, I do want to make more money. What's next? You can only move into the action of the next step once you accept where you're at. Once you accept that, or once you stop resisting it. Yes, I am hurt. Yes, I am scared. Yes, life sucks right now. And dot dot dot. What comes next? That's how you move into a better life. But that takes a little bit of responsibility, and it means you have to go with whatever is current. So this topic of resistance, as you maybe see, touches on acceptance. It touches on being in the flow or going with the flow or being in a state where you can just go with what's going on. It's realism. It touches a lot of different things that we all don't touch on if we start to resist whatever's going on in life, whatever someone says, whatever is happening around us or inside of us. And to bring this to maybe a little bit of a more practical point, what this means in your life or how to adopt something like this is just to say yes to things initially. That doesn't mean you have to accept it or like it. Right? If someone says, I don't know, something politically incorrect, you can think about whatever you want, and then you say yes to that, that doesn't mean you accept their point. It just means you maybe accept or acknowledge that they think that way. Same way, if you say yes to an insult to your mother, it's not that you agree with that completely. It just means, all right, I accept that you said that. You can do this acceptance on different levels and resistance on different levels as well. But for now, just try to say yes to a lot of things that happen inside you or outside of you. Obviously, in a healthy way. When someone asks you to go bungee jumping without a cord, don't say yes to that. Right? A little bit of realism to this. But you'd be surprised how many comments I get on Quora about these particular things where people come up with crazy scenarios because of the point I'm trying to make. So I'm just trying to make it, give you the exceptions to the rules as well a little bit here. The point, however, is if you say yes to more of these things, if you say yes to more of life, yes to more of the stuff going on inside of you, you move on with it. And you can use this in a lot of different scenarios. But for now, try not to resist as much. Be okay with it. Stop taking things so seriously and giving them so much weight. Become more like water and less like ice. And you'll find that life becomes a lot easier when you do that, because you're moving on with points that you like and expanding upon them, and moving on with points that you don't like and changing them. And you'll feel yourself, if you apply this consistently, moving into a better place in your life overall much sooner. If you have comments on this, because this is quite a deep topic, or if you want to know more about this, please comment them down below. I'll be more than happy to dive deeper into this. This is quite a complex topic, and it's a little hard for me without responding back to someone to really see where people are at and understand that. So please leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And yeah, I hope you got something out of that. For now, see you next time.